For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. Wait. I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, y'all remember the first time we heard from Michelle Obama? A speech so good, it was studied from people all over the world who would then come here to America and deliver it as their own.
My parents were raised with so many of the same values.
That you work hard for what you want.
You work hard for what you want.
That your word is your bond.
That your word is your bond. That you do what you say you're going to do. That you treat people
with respect.
With dignity and respect, even if you don't know them, and even if you don't agree with them. And Barack and I set out to build lives guided by these values and to pass them on to the next generation, because we want our children and all children in this nation to know that the only limit to the height of your achievements is the reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard for them.
And your willingness to work for them.
Well, naturally in 2024, when looking at the deep bench on the Democratic roster, you had to save a spot for Michelle Obama, and she set it off.
Something wonderfully magical is in the air, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we're feeling it here in this arena, but it's spreading all across this country we love. A familiar feeling that's been buried too deep for far too long. You know what I'm talking about. It's the contagious power of hope.
What a perfect word. Hope being something that is synonymous with the Obamas. Of course, he wrote The Audacity of Hope, and he centered a lot of his political rise around that word, hope. It also speaks to the feeling that a lot of Democrats feel rejuvenated now that Kamala's on the ticket, something that they thought was only possible if Michelle Obama was the one who was running. She was people's only hope for a long time.
The anticipation, the energy, the exhilaration of once again being on the cusp of a brighter day. The chance to vanquish the demons of fear, division, and hate that have consumed us and continue pursuing the unfinished promise of this great nation, the dream that our parents and grandparents fought and died and sacrificed for. America, hope is making a comeback.
Yes, it is. And you know what? So is Kamala Harris. Also, apparently, so is spam calls and texts. What's going on?
Kamala Harris and I built our lives on those same foundational values. Even though our mothers grew up an ocean apart, they shared the same belief in the promise of this country. That's why her mother moved here from India at 19. It's why she taught Kamala about justice, about the obligation to lift others up, about our responsibility to give more than we take. She'd often tell her daughter, don't sit around and complain about things, do something.
We shared that in common. My mama couldn't catch us sitting around. I don't care if we just got finished cutting the whole grass. Don't get caught sitting down. They might as well have just taken all the chairs out of our house. I don't know what they was for.
So, with that voice in her head, Kamala went out and she worked hard in school, graduating from an HBCU, earning her law degree at a state school. And then she went on to work for the people, fighting to hold lawbreakers accountable, strengthening the rule of law, fighting to get folks better wages, cheaper prescription drugs, a good education, decent health care, child care, elder care. From a middle-class household, Kamala worked her way up to become Vice President of the United States of America. My girl.
Not just your girl. Should be America's girl. That sounds suspiciously like the American dream that the patriots love to promise so often.
Kamala Harris is more than ready for this moment. She is one of the most qualified people ever to seek the office of the presidency. And she is one of the most dignified. A tribute to her mother, to my mother, and to your mother too. The embodiment of the stories we tell ourselves about this country. Her story is your story. It's my story. It's the story of the vast majority of Americans trying to build a better life.
She's right about that. Yet somehow they find a way not to identify with Kamala Harris. I wonder why that is. It must be the laugh. Yeah, that's it.
Look, Kamala knows, like we do, that regardless of where you come from, what you look like, who you love, how you worship, or what's in your bank account, we all deserve the opportunity to build a decent life. All of our contributions deserve to be accepted and valued. Because no one has a monopoly on what it means to be an American. No one.
I absolutely love that she said this. It's something that I've alluded to a few times, most recently in my video about the plot out there to subvert our democracy come Election Day 2024. It is wild to me that no matter how un-American and anti-democratic that some MAGAs may be, they still claim to have the market cornered on patriotism. Who is a patriot and who isn't? And that is patently unacceptable. This was also the point in the speech where my wife claimed that Michelle Obama was arm goals. And once she mentioned her arms, I could not see it. She's arm goals.
Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Hey, Michelle, say it again for those in the back.
We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Now say it again for those in the bathroom.
We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
The affirmative action of generational wealth. Woo! You gave me a word right there. You gave me a word right there. Tell me you racist without telling me you racist. Let me get this straight. We want to do away with programs that are trying to address societal discrimination going back decades, no, centuries, that has disenfranchised people of color. But we want to make sure your money still goes as far as it used to.
If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance.
How many times did Trump go bankrupt? I think it was more than 4.
If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance. If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top. No.
This was amazing. Now, I've already alluded to the fact that Kamala Harris essentially embodies what they claim the American dream is, yet they find a way not to identify with her in exchange for a man who was given said generational wealth, generally running into the ground and managed to still run afoul of the law. Donnie, what I have here is a gift that will allow you to live a life of luxury until the end of your days. Not only that, you will never have to cross another human being or cross the law. You will be just fine. All you have to do is keep this train on the tracks. Just don't mess it up. Even if you mess up, we will still ensure that you get chance after chance after chance. Well, I appreciate that, Father, and while I acknowledge the great gift that you have given me and the fact I have absolutely no reason to run afoul of the law, I still don't want the darkies to have nothing.
We put our heads down. We get to work. In America, we do something. And throughout her entire life, that's what we've seen from Kamala Harris. The steel of her spine, the steadiness of her upbringing, the honesty of her example, and yes, the joy of her laughter and her light. It couldn't be more obvious. Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great.
Actually, Michelle, I would say seen or unseen labor. He don't know none of it.
Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be Black.
And you know what? He clearly isn't the only one. That's what the DEI label is for.
Wait. I want to know. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those Black jobs?
This is where you make that stink face, like you listening to a Charlie Parker jam session or a Mos Def freestyle. That was nasty. It was at this point in the speech that I actually became angry, thinking about how incredible Michelle Obama is and the treatment that she has received from the public. You forget when you're bombarded with memes, trolling, and bull just how dynamic and amazing of a person Michelle Obama is. That's who they're treating like that. And don't think I didn't connect the dots from the first lady of the first black president asserting that the Oval Office is in fact a black job. Well done.
It's his same old con. His same old con. Doubling down on ugly, misogynistic, racist lies as a substitute for real ideas and solutions that will actually make people's lives better.
Just think about how the Obamas have been treated over the years by Fox News, the GOP, the MAGA movement. And to come back with this level of perspective, just the acceptance that this is an element of society that cannot be eradicated but must be tolerated and accepted in order for us to move forward. We have to transcend this. We have been dealing with this for so long that we're no longer shocked by it. We're not downtrodden by it. We're not beaten down by it. Oh, but we can beat it down.
Look, because cutting our health care, taking away our freedom to control our bodies, the freedom to become a mother through IVF like I did, those things are not going to improve the health outcomes of our wives, mothers, and daughters. Shutting down the Department of Education, banning our books, none of that will prepare our kids for the future. Demonizing our children for being who they are and loving who they love, look, that doesn't make anybody's life better. Instead, it only makes us small. And let me tell you this, going small is never the answer. Going small is the opposite of what we teach our kids. Going small is petty, it's unhealthy, and quite frankly, it's unpresidential.
Oh, he's gonna be triggered by that. He's gonna be triggered by that. I like it. I like it.
So, why would any of us accept this from anyone seeking our highest office? Why would we normalize that type of backward leadership? Doing so only demeans and cheapens our politics. It only serves to further discourage good, big-hearted people from wanting to get involved at all.
I actually talked about this in my Jasmine Crockett piece. She told her story about being disillusioned with the dysfunction of Congress. And I talked about myself being disillusioned with politics once upon a time in the early 2000s. The link will be in the description. Check it out if you can. Because apparently there is no time in the new millennia where MAGA won't behave in such a way to discourage people from wanting to even speak to them. Even if it's for a check. That really must be what the job is. Because you think they're hiring you to be one of our legislators and to be entrusted with our democracy. No, they actually are just paying you to deal with these lunatics. It's like a right-wing daycare.
As we embrace this renewed sense of hope, let us not forget the despair we have felt. Let us not forget what we are up against. Yes, Kamala and Tim are doing great now. We're loving it. They're packing arenas across the country. Folks are energized. We are feeling good. But remember, there are still so many people who are desperate for a different outcome, who are ready to question and criticize every move Kamala makes, who are eager to spread those lies, who don't want to vote for a woman, who will continue to prioritize building their wealth over ensuring that everyone has enough. So no matter how good we feel tonight or tomorrow or the next day, this is going to be an uphill battle. So folks, we cannot be our own worst enemies. No. See, because the minute something goes wrong, The minute a lie takes hold, folks, we cannot start wringing our hands. We cannot get a Goldilocks complex about whether everything is just right. And we cannot indulge our anxieties about whether this country will elect someone like Kamala instead of doing everything we can to get someone like Kamala elected.
Now, this is wisdom from somebody that can only come from inside the Obama campaign, because if you are of my age or older and you were around in 2008, I remember the power of Obama's campaign. I remember how motivated I felt. I remember how on fire I felt. I remember how much this felt like a completely different time in America. And I also remember the pessimism of thinking, I have to entrust them to vote for a black man. But that is not the mindset you have the privilege of adopting if you're doing the work to get that person elected. And if not for the conviction for people like that, it wouldn't have happened in 2008.
To stand up, not just for our basic freedoms, but for decency and humanity, for basic respect, dignity, and empathy, for the values at the very foundation of this democracy. It's up to us to remember what Kamala's mother told her. Don't just sit around and complain, do something.
Stand up for decency, humanity, and empathy. We have devolved to a point where we have to stand up, and we do, for decency, humanity, and empathy. Thanks, GOP. While we're on the topic of decency, humanity, and empathy, Michelle Obama has a 100 out of 100 First Lady rating on 2K. Like a 100 out of 100. She is relatable. She communicates extremely well. She's extremely charismatic. She's funny. She has an incredible story. Oh, she's a mother. She don't have a crazy laugh. All this other nonsense they like to toss out there. She is a 100 out of 100. Yet they claim that Melania, who was on Backpage, is First Lady goals. Word? The incredible thing that she said about how inconceivable it is for them to think of a black person educated and free thinking really applies to how they have been received, because there is no quality that she does not embody that you would want in a First Lady or a president for that matter, because I can't think of another First Lady you would ask to speak 8 years later. You think they asking Melania to speak in 2032? I wonder where Laura Bush was at during the RNC. If you created the perfect First Lady in a lab, it would be Michelle Obama. And America's unwillingness to accept her as such, even with your ideological differences, leaves you nowhere to go but racism. Nowhere to go but racism. Her greatness stripped away all other possibilities.
So, if they lie about her, and they will, we've got to do something. If we see a bad poll, and we will, we got to put down that phone and do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what? We only have 2.5 months, y'all, to get this done. Consider this to be your official ask. Michelle Obama is asking you, no, I'm telling y'all to do something. Because you all,
if Michelle Obama asked me to do something, I'm doing it. I'm sorry. I feel bad for Sasha and Malia, because I can't bring myself to talk back to her. Like, you got it.
This election is going to be close. In some states, just a handful, listen to me, a handful of votes in every precinct could decide the winner. So we need to vote in numbers that erase any doubt. We need to overwhelm any effort to suppress us. Our fate is in our hands. In 77 days, we have the power to turn our country away from the fear, division, and smallness of the past. We have the power to marry our hope with our action. We have the power to pay forward the love, sweat, and sacrifice of our mothers and fathers and all those who came before us. We did it before, y'all, and we sure can do it again. Let us work like our lives depend on it. And let us keep moving our country forward and go higher, yes, always higher than we've ever gone before as we elect the next President and Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Thank you all. God bless.
That was absolutely incredible. I mean, that was absolutely incredible. It is amazing to think that somebody can be this dynamic and she isn't even the elected official. That is how far over the bar we have to be. Not that that would prevent you from complaining or trying to degrade her accomplishments, because Lord knows nothing can stop you from trying to do that. Huh? Oh, she's not finished?
Now, before I go, I have one more job tonight. Yeah, one more job. You all, thank you for all the love, but it is now my honor to introduce somebody who knows a whole lot about hope. Someone who has spent his life strengthening our democracy, and let me tell you, as someone who lives with him, he wakes up every day, and thinks about what's best for this country. Please welcome America's 44th president and the love of my life, Barack Obama.
Oh no, that's gonna be a whole nother video. It's coming at you very soon. The link will be in the description when it's ready. Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com.